Tēnā koutou, nau mai, haere mai. Hello everyone, welcome to the Walking the Shadowlands podcast. Let me be your guide as we take a walk into the realms of the unexplained, of the paranormal, of things that go bump in the night and haunt your dreams. I'm Marianne. Thanks so much for joining me today, tonight, whatever time it is, wherever you're living in this beautiful world of ours. What is an earth sense stuff? This is a subject that comes up from time to time, and people often ask that question. It's a little bit complex, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Firstly, I think we need to have a basic understanding of what energy is with regards to our physiological, biological bodies, which actually are energy transmitters and receivers. Your heart, your nervous system all work by means of energy input and a form of energetic current. In fact, the heart's very own rhythm can be electronically altered if it's not functioning correctly by means of an electrical circuit called a pacemaker. If our body's energies are not functioning correctly, then it can cause us physical pain, illness, and ultimately death. Our body's energies can be dramatically affected by any number of energy sources that constantly surround us at all times. We're continuously and persistently bombarded with all sorts of energies, from man-made, such as those put out from high-tension power cables, to those that are used to transport your cell phone calls or your wireless network connection. Scientific studies have shown that these energies can and do have detrimental effects on the human body, with some people being far more sensitive to these electronic energies than others, causing them all sorts of physical issues, off-grid and isolated from any source of non-naturally occurring energy, which is getting harder and harder with the microwave coverage these days. It's the same for some of us with naturally occurring energy sources. In addition to those man-made energy outputs, the human body also puts its own energy out there that can and does affect us. You just need to think about all the fear that's been created over the past few years, particularly, and the way that fear has affected the whole of humanity. Those who control this reality are very aware that they can utilize this to effect changes they want to see amongst humans. The Earth is a living entity, and she puts out her own energies called the Schumann resonance, and some of us are very sensitive to these energies released by her, particularly before physical Earth changes such as earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and the like. So basically, an Earth sensitive is a person whose physical body is especially attuned to the energies that surround us at all times, particularly the ones put out by the Earth when she's stressed or moving or wanting to move in some manner, be that an earthquake, volcanic eruption, or some other Earth-related event. Not only Earth changes, but very many of us are also greatly affected by solar flares when they erupt from the sun. Scientifically, before an earthquake occurs, the Earth puts out energetic waves that, as they increase in size, are picked up and captured by scientific instruments such as seismometers, hydrophones in the water, or accelerometers. However, for us people who are earth sensitive, we pick up these energies put out from the Earth way before the instruments pick them up. Our physiological body, the receiver aspect, is able to feel or hear or both these energies, ULF, ultra low frequencies, VLF, very low frequencies, and ELF, extra low frequency signals put out by the Earth before any instrument can, and it affects us in many different ways on a physical and sometimes emotional level. Generally, these effects on our bodies are not pleasant and not something we really wish to experience, but it's not something that we can stop from affecting us either, although we can learn ways to mitigate the effects. So, How can I tell if I'm an earth sensitive? You may be asking yourself. There are some ways that you can tell, but of course these are unique and individual to each person, and some may only get very slight effects, whereas for others it can literally have them flat on their backs for a day or two before the event. The effects can be very incapacitating. By the way, this is not at all woo-woo theory. Many people have been the subject of study by credible scientists on how this actually works. One woman in particular came to international attention with her prediction of the St. Helens volcanic eruption in May 18th of 1980. She was only out in her prediction by a mere 11 minutes. This brought her to the attention of the scientific community and multiple appearances on various TV shows. Her name is Charlotte King, and I've included a link on this episode's page on our podcast website, www.walkingtheshadowlands.com. So you can read more about her if you wish to. It was through her that the term biological earthquake forecasting came about and became a subject of further study. If you do a Google scholar search, you can see that there are numerous, and I mean numerous, scientific studies done on this, mostly with animals who are very sensitive to earth changes, but humans as well. So what are some of the signs? You're very in tune with your physical body and very sensitive to changes in it. You're very connected with the planet on a physical level. An example of this on a personal note is when I returned to New Zealand to live after living for a number of years in North Carolina in the United States. I could feel the physical boundaries of the North Island, like where it met the sea. It was the weirdest sensation. Whereas before, in North Carolina, I'd been living hours and hours away from the coast of the sea, a good day's drive. But here, it was only a matter of hours to each coast, and I could feel the physical boundaries of the island. It totally took me by surprise, and I didn't lose that sense of the physical boundaries of the North Island for a good week. You're sensitive to weather and even season changes. Personally, I can always smell the change in season before it becomes noticeable physically. Often, people who are earth sensitive in particular can suffer from SAD or seasonal affective disorder in winter. Some get premonitions or feelings that an event is about to happen in days or weeks from now. You can, but not all earth sensitives do, react to solar flares. Solar flares are an intense burst of radiation that causes the sun to become brighter than normal and push out a coronal ejection from its body. The effects of solar flares on the Earth and life here can be absolutely catastrophic if one is Earth-facing when released from the sun. It can affect the Earth's magnetosphere and result in geomagnetic storms, which can make beautiful lights in the night skies. But it can also damage satellites, power infrastructure, and radio communications if it directly hits the Earth. If you want to know more about this, Google the Carrington effect. You have an intuitive feel for the Earth, like you can tell how she's feeling, not always and not with everyone. You very often prefer to be by water of some description because of the cleansing, healing properties water, running water especially, has on your body. You're affected by physical changes on the planet. For example, if you hear of mass deforestation happening somewhere, it greatly distresses you. Stuff like that. So those are some of the signs that you might be earth sensitive. Now, what are some of the symptoms you might experience prior to earth changes? As always, before you assume that you are earth sensitive, if you're having any of these physical symptoms, please make sure you get checked out by a doctor first. This is because many of these can be symptoms of physical illness. Now, assuming you've been to a doctor and gotten the all clear, here are some to watch out for. These are only a few, but you need to be aware of your own body and what it is telling you. And you may have only one or two of the symptoms on this list. This list isn't by any means comprehensive. 1. Ringing in one or both ears. Now, don't confuse this with tinnitus or tinnitus. It is not tinnitus. What you are hearing are the low-frequency waves the Earth puts out prior to some events, earthquakes in particular. This is the biggest symptom I personally get. I've gotten to the stage where I now know if my left ear is ringing, that means a quake's going to hit in the southern hemisphere, right ear, northern hemisphere. If I concentrate on the ringing, I can generally pinpoint where on the planet and what size the quake will be. I personally don't get times or dates, but there's largely a 2-week maximum window for me from the time I'm aware of the ringing to the time the quake happens. 2. Headaches. These can range from mild to absolutely incapacitating migraines. For me, this depends on the location of the coming event and size. The larger the quake, the stronger the headache generally. 3. Dizziness and or nausea. Often these occur immediately prior to a quake. 4. A feeling of being unbalanced, like suddenly the room's tilted. 5. Sudden pain. It can be in any part of the body but comes on suddenly. 6. A feeling of extreme lethargy. It's hard to get anything done. All you want to do is lay down. It often comes on instantly. 7. Anxiety, out of the blue and for no discernible reason. 8. Disturbed sleep patterns. 9. Restlessness. 10. Oversensitivity to loud noises or changes in temperature. 11. Sudden and acute feeling of heat or cold in the body. 12. Tingling of extremities. 13. A need to withdraw from everything and everyone and be silent. 14. A deep desire to suddenly connect with nature. So, assuming you have one or more of these symptoms, what do you do now? Learn to listen and trust what your body's telling you. Having given you all that information, if you're not familiar with what your body's telling you, then you need to really start listening. Being earth sensitive is not in the least uncommon. It's simply that most have gotten so out of touch with what their bodies are telling them. Learn to tell the difference and discern what feelings belong to you and your body, what comes from the earth, and what belongs to other people around you. Ask yourself, is this my feeling? Is this from the earth? Or does this belong to someone else? Start keeping a journal of your body symptoms, date, time, weather conditions. Sometimes it makes a difference to what your body tells you, initially anyway. Then look for local, regional, and international quakes or other earth events. Soon enough, if you're earth sensitive, then you'll notice a correlation and pattern to what you experience and earth events. Ground yourself often and regularly. This is particularly important if you are earth sensitive, and also especially now as the earth energies are in a state of almost constant fluctuation. Make sure you drink enough water. Being an earth sensitive takes so much more energy than you may be aware of, so it's especially important to have good hydration. Also, that hydration helps receive accurate signals. If you need it, take vitamin supplements, but if you're eating a healthy diet, then this shouldn't be necessary. Cut out processed foods as much as possible. If you are earth sensitive, then don't stress about this at all. You can't do anything to prevent this happening to you, but you can learn to mitigate the effects with recognition and self-care. Do things that bring you joy. Make sure you get as much sleep as possible for you. Be creative. Have fun. You deserve it. Thanks for listening to this episode. Ka kite.